This is Anime Out of Context, a comedy review podcast hosted by a weeb of the highest order alongside a cynical man who knows nothing about anime. Our show features spoilers, explicit language, and poor fact-checking. Neither of our hosts are experts on any topic, and none of their opinions should be taken as fact. Thank you for listening, and enjoy.
Hello and welcome to Anime Out of Context, the show where I attempt to explain the sometimes weird, sometimes wonderful, but always hilarious world of anime.
And I'd rather be picking my favorite Beyonce.
I'm Sean Rollins.
I'm Remington Chase.
And Remington, have you recovered from last week's soap opera drama? Are you able to talk to people normally again?
I'm getting there. I'm almost there, Sean.
Almost there? Well, that's good because I've got something completely different for you this week.
Well, you know what, Sean? Before we begin, you may have noticed that I was interacting with some fans on Twitter and our Discord this week, right?
No.
I don't know why you're in this mood. I'm simply I just want to talk about my week before we get into things. Is that so wrong? So I posted. Sometimes I'm a very forgetful man. Sometimes I get confused easily, as you all know. And so I posted a poll on our Twitter and in the Discord. And it asked a very innocent question. Just when is the next April Fool's? Right? When is the next April Fool's? I forget sometimes, Sean. Innocent question.
I don't like that. I had something planned.
I don't know why you're so suspicious. All I'm doing is going over. I asked an innocent question. I just thought that I might share the results with you, Sean. Did you, out of curiosity, did you vote in the poll?
I mean, I am a professional, Remington. I am not going to interact with any kind of polling service that involves our lovely audience ship because that would be dishonest. So I voted twice using Dylan's computer.
All right, so the results. There were four options. The four options of when is the next April Fool's. There was very soon, give it a while, April 1st, and wildcard bitches. I don't even quite know what to make of the last one. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it was a haze. Very innocent question, though. 6 votes. We had over 100 people, by the way, which is very nice to see. 6 people said give it a while. 1 or 2 of those being Sean. And so that's about 5%. 16 people, amounting to about 14%, said April 1st. Those people are just real helpful, and I appreciate it. 32 people, about a fourth of everyone, over a fourth, said very soon. They want it very soon. And then 62, over half, said wildcard bitches. So, you know, that just very interesting insight on that. Just thought I'd share that with you, Sean.
Okay.
Carry on with what you were doing, Sean.
Okay, wild card. That scares me. That's the scariest response I could have gotten, honestly. Because I mean, very soon at least gives me.
You're so paranoid, Sean.
Okay.
Just let's jump into it.
Okay. So this week, Remington, I have an anime prepared for you.
Yeah, that tends to be how the podcast goes, Sean. I think we're all well acquainted.
My hair is standing up on end right now. I just want to let you know that.
I don't know why. Why are you so worried, Sean?
Because
you seem real stressed. You need to relax. You need to calm yourself down. Learn to laugh a little.
It's hard to laugh when you put this deep-seated fear in my heart. Last time you mentioned April Fool's, which was only like a month ago, I had to watch Code fucking Lyoko, so naturally I'm terrified of when you're gonna whip out your wild card, which the only positive thing that could come from that is maybe watching something like It's Always Sunny, where wild card bitches was a thing, if I remember correctly.
You're just too paranoid, Sean. Let's get on with the show. The people are waiting.
Okay, so Remington, I've been doing some thinking about what we should do this week.
Of course.
And our conversation last week actually gave me some slight alterations to my original plans.
Oh, you know what, Sean? Now that you're talking, you're being like last week and stuff. Think about time. There's the special occasion, Sean.
No.
Sean, there's a special occasion that I think we need to celebrate.
Is it my birthday? Because that happened recently. I'd love to.
It is indeed, Sean. Happy birthday. By the time this episode goes up, it'll be past. But, you know, listeners, feel free, send your birthday wishes to Sean. Happy birthday, Sean, from me. And as the voice of the people, thus from all the people to you. So just wanted to send that out to you. Anyway, happy birthdays aside, everyone's gonna send you happy messages. Feel free to leave it on Twitter, Discord, send a review sending happy birthday, Sean, whatever. But back on track, Sean. The anime this week.
Okay. So the anime this week is we're doing a revisit this week, Remington.
Fuck.
Because I promised people that we'd do more revisits, and I figured it would be a good time to whip one out for you.
Yes. Revisits don't have a great track record on this podcast, I will admit.
Look, just because half of the revisits were Sword Art Online. Like,
yeah, let's hope not to repeat that, if at all possible.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. I figured that this would be a great, interesting follow-up to last week, because, Remington, I've been feeling a bit spicy lately.
Oh, spicy, you say?
Yes, spicy. And we gotten a couple of requests for this one, and I thought, especially since the manga ended recently, I figured it'd be a great time to jump back into it and see what you really think about it. Because, Remington, I need a little bit more drama in my life, and I can't think of any better way to do it.
Oh boy.
Then
all right, okay.
Dropping you headlong back into the trashy show simply known as Domestic Girlfriend.
All right, so this is a bit of a double-edged sword.
Yes.
Because Domestic Girlfriend, of course, was it's as if it was built for me to despise it, right? But amazingly, astoundingly, I ended up more favorable than not last time we covered. It's not the worst case scenario, but at the same time, given every time it's been mentioned, you've strongly affirmed how trashy it gets. I'm hesitant.
To quote the famous YouTuber Giga, who really drew a lot of attention to this show, it's fine as long as you say no chromo, bro.
So, Sean, it has been a minute.
Yes.
So I am going to, because I do not constantly look back to all of the things we've covered, I could probably use a refresher.
All right, I can do that for you. Because I rewatched the whole series to completion, all 12 episodes, and even read a bit into the manga just to be prepared, and I actually finished the manga, funnily enough.
Wow.
Yeah. It's hard to look away after a minute. But as a reminder, Domestic Girlfriend is about our lovely main character who is having a crisis of deciding who he wants to love between his newly adopted step-siblings. One is the girl he lost his virginity to, the other is his teacher. Yep. And the story is the progression of him dealing with these relationships as well as other relationships that come along the way, dealing with the drama of wanting to fuck your family, as well as
which we've all faced that drama at some point. We all have a great Uncle Earl.
Whatever you say, Oedipus. And we only watched 3 episodes of it originally, Remington.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot happened. Don't get me wrong. But if I remember correctly, we only watched 3 episodes, and essentially what it boiled down to was, they're my siblings now. I'm accidentally gonna kiss this chick while she's sleeping and drunk and unconscious. Should I do this? Oh no, that's a bad move. I have feelings. My pee-pee hard. What am I supposed to do about that? I have emotions. Yeah,
if I recall, while I acknowledged that the show was a bit trashy.
A bit?
It was quite trashy. I feel like my merits for it was that the characters felt decently, like, properly human.
Yep.
And that they weren't terribly glorifying the trash, even though it was obviously very trashy.
Mm-hmm.
And that, amazingly, considering the premise, it handled things more maturely than the vast majority of anime I've ever seen.
Yes.
So I think those were a couple, if I remember correctly, of my main merits proposed.
Yes. A brief synopsis of what actually happened after that first episode. His new stepsister, who he fucked, talked at the beginning of the series, ends up transferring to his school where his other sister still teaches. He's our main character Natsuo spies on his teacher who's in a bad relationship and having issues. There's a best friend character who is fairly amusing and is basically our relationship between us. It's very amusing. And basically Natsuo, where we left off, Natsuo was very upset about Hina's, very unfortunate relationship. Hina's the teacher, by the way.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yes. And his best friend Fumiya encourages him to talk to her and try and get her to break up with the abusive boyfriend type.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yep. And then there's some drama. He runs away from the family because of the drama, and they come to talk to him, and blah 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 blah. Drama stuff ensues. It's a lot. It's surprisingly hard to sum up 3 or 4 episodes worth of content in a few minutes, just simply due to the fact of how much fucking happens.
No, of course. I do have a couple questions for you, Sean. First, so we saw 3 episodes before. How many more are we going to watch this week?
Well, Remington, I think at the very least we should watch up to, there's only 12 episodes in the series, Rem.
Yeah?
It's not a lot of episodes.
What are you trying to say, Sean?
Look, man.
You bastard!
I just want to make sure your opinion is cemented, Remington.
You son of a bitch!
And you only have to watch from episode 4 all the way to episode 12. That's not bad. That's only 8 episodes.
First of all, I would like to point out it's 9 because it includes both 4 and 12. But furthermore, I have one last question, Sean.
Yes?
Beyond the statement, you're a bastard. The question I have is, what genuinely how much do you think my opinion will change, and in what ways?
Well,
you don't need to be like too specific or spoilery about it, but just generally speaking, where are you projecting me to end up emotionally?
that depends on a lot of things, Remington.
Oh, here we go.
Because the themes that this show tackles in just 12 episodes are, let's just say, extensive. And I don't know, man. You might come out with a very similar opinion. You might also think that this show is even trashier than you could have imagined, but it was hard to look away from. Or you might just end up trying to walk into the sea. It's hard to say, which is going to be very impressive
perfect.
Because we live in a landlocked state.
I'll find a way, goddammit.
The Great Salt Lake is there, but it ain't that deep.
Yeah, and it's hard to properly walk into it. You just float.
Yeah, it's saltier than the ocean and most Overwatch players, so...
And that is salty.
Yeah, so without further ado, Remington, let's get back into the spicy drama. Let's get into the thick of it. Let's see how depraved this can get. Let's go watch some Domestic no Kanojo.
Goody.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back after consuming the entirety of the first season of Domestic Girlfriend. And Remington, how are your emotions feeling, man? I feel like you need to really take stock of what you witnessed because it's a lot of stuff happening in such a short amount of time.
It is a lot. This show, it is pretty fast-paced, especially at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Some might argue at the end the pacing not only is fast but gets quite rushed. But you know what, Sean? I'm gonna try in similar fast pacing. We don't want to stick here for an hour and a half discussing Domestic Girlfriend, even though I'm sure some of our listeners would prefer us to. I'm gonna try and probably fail to still go over every episode, but like in a shorter way.
Yeah, here.
Right.
Let me give you a taste of perspective as to why it felt a little paced. Just so you know, Remington, we've talked about anime adaptations in the past, right? And
yep.
Usually a good anime adaptation will try to take 2 to 3, maybe even 4 chapters and slip that into one episode, cutting out the extraneous stuff and making it very good, clear, and cohesive.
Yeah.
Domestic Girlfriend, the first 12 episodes, covers chapters 1 through 72.
Oh my god. But you know what? Here's the amazing thing. Genuinely, until the end of the series, or the season rather, until the end of the season, while it was super fast paced, it never felt too extremely rushed until the final few episodes. It did surprisingly well.
Yeah, episode 12 is an adaptation of chapters 63 through 72 while cutting out chapter 68.
Yeah, all right, that makes sense.
Yep.
It should be noted, obviously, there are going to be spoilers here. If you want to know whether you should watch this show, listen to our first podcast episode about it. Why are you listening to this one instead? What are you doing?
Yeah, why'd you come back to this one? Think, they had a good first look at it, but I really want to know the meat of the story before I completely ruin everything for myself.
So Sean, one thing I decided to do, I actually, for like the first time ever, I listened to our podcast on Domestic Girlfriend, our first one.
Whoa, Rem. You can't go back and listen to our own content. It's gonna make you realize how unfunny we are.
Amazingly, that was one of the good episodes. That episode, great episode. We did really good. Both of us funny, some Vladimir Putin nonsense. Great episode.
Wait, Vladimir Putin episode?
Oh yeah, there was a, I would argue, a substantial amount of Vladimir Putin in the last Domestic Girlfriend episode.
Is that the episode that got us banned from Russia?
Yes.
Okay.
See, you do remember. But I don't do that because I don't consume anime media on my free time, even if it's our anime media. But I wanted to just try to remind myself of what the fuck was going on without actually having to, like, revisit the first 3 episodes. And I want to know a few things.
Yes.
First, one thing, I made a very bold claim in part 1 that I had forgotten about.
Oh, yeah?
In the first episode we did on Domestic Girlfriend, I said that there was a good chance that Rui might be the best of any dere that we had seen up to that point, which is a bold claim, Sean.
Yes.
I'm not gonna spoil my opinions on Rui now. We'll explore that, but that put a pin on that one because that's an idea to be explored later, right? Another thing I want to know before we delve extremely deep into it, Sean, you want to know something I just hate?
What's something you really, really hate, Remington, aside from me?
I might need to clarify because this can easily be taken out of context, but I hate how many parallels this show has with my own various relationships.
Oh, you too, huh?
Yes. Sean, I've been in, we will just say a sufficient amount of relationships. That's how we'll say that.
Yeah. Rem, you've led a soap opera-esque life when it comes to your love life.
Unfortunately. And it's not like I've had, like, there was one specific relationship where, I was fucking my sister and my teacher. Like, that wasn't the case. But
yeah, you don't have a sister
like
to fuck.
Thank God. But every episode was like a different view of fucked up nostalgia in my brain where I was like, oh God, yeah, that brings up memories. And that was nice and uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
But with that discomfort handled and managed, as well as it can be. Let's jump in, Sean, shall we? Jump in with episode 4.
Yep, go right into it. Because if I recall, where we left off was our lovely teacher, Hina, was seeing somebody, and her newfound siblings were not a huge fan of that, so they were trying to stalk and figure out what's going on, correct?
Yes, Hina was having an affair with a married man, right? Mm-hmm. And so Rui and Natsuo, they were like, that's pretty fucked up. So they decide they prep for a stakeout with Fukuyama, is that his name? Something like that.
Yeah.
Best friend. With chubby best friend.
It's Fumiya,
They
by
plan
the way.
out Fumiya. I was close enough. So Fumiya and them, they plan, all right, we're gonna do a stakeout. Cool. They prep. They watch her for a few days. She, like, gets drunk. She goes to shows, but she is not meeting with any dudes. So they're like, this is frustrating. So they instead, they're like, all right, his name might be Shu due to something in the calendar, or it might not be. They're not guaranteed on that. But let's steal her phone and try calling a Shu and then break up with him, right? That is the plan.
What a great plan.
Oh yeah. And so they steal the phone, and it's like, all right, Rui, just pretend you're your sister, and then she can't because she's socially awkward as fuck. And it's like, well, shit. Yeah. I mean, Sean, you remember the times where we've stolen our editor Dylan's phone and broken up with his exes for him, but it was for his own good.
Yep. It doesn't help that he usually dates yanderes, though, and we have to barricade ourselves in our respective homes, otherwise we do get murdered.
We actually risk our lives for our friends. But so they do that. It doesn't quite work. All right. Trying to figure out a new plan. They go to the restaurant that Fumiya and everyone else is working at, and they're talking about it. And who should show up at the restaurant but Hina and Shu? Now, so this is our first introduction to Shu, right? He seems well composed, seems a bit studious, and I really like how chill Shu is, compared to like the image that sort of has been portrayed of him, like this cheater, right? While at the same time, this show also shows that he is definitely manipulative, but not in a super in-your-face way. It's a nice, more subtle level of manipulation, and I liked seeing that in a character.
I was about to say, Rev, you gotta be a bit more specific about where you like seeing that, because I'm gonna be very concerned for your love life if you are basing it off of this gentleman.
Yeah, definitely not, fortunately. But yeah, so he shows up, and Rui and Natsuo are like, what the fuck? So they all sit down, and they have a nice little chat, and that chat leads to Natsuo especially just like yelling at Shu and being like, what the fuck, how dare you fucking suck. And Rui ends up splashing some water in his face, right, and running away, nice and dramatic. Natsuo follows her. Then like Hina and Shu, they're talking about it on the way home, and Hina's like, yeah, maybe like we should break up though, maybe that's for the best. And Shu is like nice and subtly manipulative about it, just being like, don't worry about what they want. What do you want? Which
that sounds a little familiar, Remington.
Yeah, first of all, Sean knows that was a major theme in one of my own soap operas. God damn it, it's awful. But this is also a theme that will come up later in the show as well, which I like and appreciate. And so then the episode ends with Natsuo. The next day, he goes to his mother's grave to pay respects. Rui and Hina, they sort of make up, and they show up at the grave too to pay their respects and support Natsuo, right? And they all make up, and everything is all good and Gucci. Happy ending for episode 4, right?
Yeah, well, it's probably the closest thing to a happy ending in the series, so I'll give you that.
It's true. The next episode, one of the main things of the next episode is we get an introduction to another character. Here's how, in the next couple episodes, this is going to happen repeatedly, Sean.
Yep.
There's a formula for how characters are introduced in this show.
Really?
And it is, yes. It's a simple one. You start an episode, very abruptly, a character who you've never seen before shows the fuck up and is like, hello, I'm important now. And then they have some dramatic action that'll take up the first like third of the episode with one of the main characters. And then they're just a part of the show now.
I mean, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
It's not wildly elegant, but I will say, fortunately, one of the things this show does pretty well is characterization. So even though it is definitely more abrupt than it should be with these introductions, at least very quickly I understand what kind of character it is, right? So it's the best way they could have handled it in this manner, but it's still quite abrupt. This episode, we're introduced to Momo, and that is not a nice airbending lemur. No, that is a girl who there's lots of rumors about Momo, Sean. Lots of rumors.
What kind of rumors? Does she like gossip, or does she like tell stories about people? Ooh, is she actually a bully? What's the rumors, Remington?
Oh no, Sean. Nothing that harms people that blatantly. No, she the rumors are just that she has sex quite a bit. And that's it. Momo, she has like a bunch of plush things around her, and it's implied that she gives these handmade crafts to people she wants to fuck. And which I don't know, man. That might sway me. Those are adorable.
Oh no, they're great.
And she
They're all
is
little
so
handmade,
talented.
like almost voodoo doll-esque creatures, and I find them to be amazing.
Yeah. And so Momo, she meets Rui, right? They become instant friends, and people are like, Rui, why are you hanging out with Momo? She's weird. And Rui's like, I don't really give a shit. Which is in line with Rui's character.
She may be a slut, but she's my slut.
Yeah, exactly. So Momo and Rui, they become nice and close. So far, this episode's like felt super disjointed from everything else, and I understand why they're going to put it together, but as the introduction of every character, every introduction of every new character is going to feel disjointed. That's just how they decide to handle it. It's not great, but they handle it decently from there.
Well, yeah, you can't waste time introducing characters when you got to get to the hot and heavy spicy stuff.
You need the hot and heavy spicy stuff. So Rui and Momo, they're hanging out at a bookstore, right? And who should they find there but Natsuo? And so they like say hi, and then Momo's like, oh my god, I want to fuck that boy. She's like, hey Rui, do you want to fuck that boy, or can I fuck that boy?
You know what, Remington? That reminds me of the first time we met, actually. We were in school, I was walking down the hall, and out of nowhere I was just like, hey, who's that long-haired fella over there?
Wouldn't be the first time I turned a straight dude gay. But yeah, so Rui is like awkwardly like, no, I guess go for it, whatever. And so Momo is like super into it. We get a surprisingly rare blatant panty shot as Momo's giving a love letter to Natsuo. I'm amazed. I think that might be the only like super blatant panty shot in the show. But Momo gives Natsuo a letter that's just like, hey, let's chat and hang out and fuck. And Natsuo like briefly talks to Rui about it because he was gonna hang out with Momo, but Rui has a fever, a really bad sickness, Sean.
Yes, the worst kind of sickness that can struck any anime character in this type of setting.
Oh, yes.
And there's only one cure for that sickness, isn't there, Remington? What is the cure, Remington?
cure.
Is it a quest to the highest mountain to get a sacred plant? Do you have to slay a divine beast to gain the blood to heal the poor, sick Rui? What is the secret of success here, Remington?
It's some protagonist dick. So Natsuo, he's like, I'm gonna take care of Rui instead of going with Momo, and he takes care of her, right? And meanwhile, she's like, oh god, I need to change, and I'm like so like sweaty and stuff. So Natsuo gives her a naked fever wipe down, as you do.
Yeah, it's a pretty common trope in these types of things. Just a lot more steamy in this setting.
Oh, yes. And he, like, calling the parents, and the parents are like, all right, there's medicine, don't worry. There's a suppository over here. Some of you may know where this is going. And so she's like, I'm too sick to put it in. You put in the suppository. And so he does put in the suppository. And once again, the show shows Domestic Girlfriend shows surprising restraint in this scene. Like, when they put a suppository in, we only see a clothed buttocks. We see nothing more. And you know what? That's some restraint. More than we would see in any other ecchi show.
As someone who's read the manga, oh yeah, they had some restraint.
Oh boy, I can't wait till we get towards the final episodes, because I have some thoughts. Obviously, I know nothing about the manga, but I have some thoughts about the manga already. And they will frustrate people, I am sure. Especially because I know nothing about it. But continuing on episode 5. Then finally Natsuo is able to go to Momo's house, right? And they hang out, and then Momo's like, "Hey boy, wanna fuck?" And he's like, "Yes." So they start getting ready to fuck, right? It's revealed that Momo has like some family issues, which isn't surprising given the trope. And then also, while they're getting ready to fuck, he sees some self-harm scars on her wrist, and he's like, whoa, wait a minute. You know what? Let's just have dinner, all right? I'm gonna make you dinner. It's gonna be nice and cute. All right, cool.
Yeah, it's amazing that he had the restraint to put it back in his pants after that, honestly.
Especially considering the rest of the season.
Yes.
So Momo is the first introduction to a non-primary harem member, I suppose. There's going to be 2 girls that are introduced that are adjacent to the harem. But amazingly, other than the episodes they're featured in, they're not really in the harem at all. Like, after this, Momo is, you might think that there might be some romantic tension between her and Natsuo again, and while it's briefly mentioned here and there, it is definitely in the background. And a part of me is like, it helps flesh out the world and the background, because the characters aren't in this isolated bubble where the only thing that matters is Natsuo and his dick. Rather, they have different relationships with one another, right? Which is nice. At the same time, I feel like the vast majority of these important secondary characters are relatively underutilized, due in large part to the slightly rushed pacing of everything. Momo will never really be important again, but she'll she's a decent character, and she'll add to the theming and the world, which is nice, but she's not important to the plot at all.
Well...
and that'll be a common theme, Sean.
Well, you say this. There's about 250 chapters of the manga, so she does become relevant again later on. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, just not in the anime. In episode 6, episode 6 is the worst episode thus far, and also real weird, and also what the fuck. So, in episode 6, we are, due to the way that they introduce characters, we are abruptly introduced to Kiria? He's an edgy teacher. He's the cool teacher, right?
Just
who
call
also
him
should
Reiji
not
if it makes you feel better.
Cool, Reiji, he shouldn't be allowed around kids.
Oh, absolutely not. No, God, no.
Not at all. So, our introduction to him, Natsuo is reading on the roof of the school, and then Reiji is smoking blatantly in front of him, and then he's just like, oh god, you saw me smoking, even though he was right fucking there. It's a weird moment. And so Reiji, he's in charge. Kiria is just the one that's written down more. I'm gonna keep saying Kiria. So Kiria, the teacher, he is in charge of Lit Club, right? Literature Club, and there's only one member of Literature Club, and that's Ashiwara, a young shy girl, and Ashihara. Close enough. It's all the same to me, god damn it.
Okay, hold on back there. Pump the brakes a bit there, Andrew Jackson. It's not, you can't go too deep into saying things like that.
So, Natsuo steals a book from Literature Club. As he's returning it, he hears a sound. He looks over, and he seemingly sees Kiria and Ashihara just making out, which is terribly inappropriate, as we know, because it's a student-teacher relation. Right, guys?
Nobody should ever desire that.
So, he ends up, like, dropping the book and stumbling, and then they both look. Then Kiria, he gets real fucking weird. He's like, oh, what do you think you saw, Natsuo? And Natsuo's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Kiria's like, you didn't think I was being lewd with a student, did you, Natsuo? And he's getting, like, super close, like, breathing, not down Natsuo's neck, but, like, on Natsuo's neck. More steamy. Like, I'm ready for this edgy anime Snape to start trying to seduce Natsuo as well. It's a weird
94, Mr. Natsuo.
It's a weird fucking moment. It's uncomfortable. And he basically coerces Natsuo to join Literature Club, and he won't get in trouble for stealing the book. Cool. Nice and weird.
Isn't it great when your teachers blackmail you into joining clubs?
Truly. So at this point, the three of them now, since they're the only members of Kiria, Ashihara, and Natsuo, they're talking all about books and writing and stuff, right? And then Kiria is like, kiss each other for me. Which is not okay. It's so not okay.
No, Remington, you can't. It wasn't like that. They were suggesting how a kiss could have several meanings, and why don't you two try it just to show the example, see how little meaning it truly has.
It is the creepiest thing. And so Ashihara is like, sure, but Natsuo, he struggles to do so. Later in the episode, Rui, who's been looking for a club to join, join, and Momo, they decide they're gonna join literature club too. Cool, neat.
Yep, because nothing bad ever happens when a bunch of girls join a literature club.
Then, how to describe this next bit? So we get to a scene that everyone's chilling at the restaurant again, right?
Yep.
And Marie, I think Marie. So Marie, who I amazingly, when I listened to our first episode on Domestic Girlfriend, I don't think we mentioned Marie at all, which is a travesty because Marie is a great character. Marie is like a trans, or at least like non-gender conforming individual, right? Man desiring to be a woman or feminine or non-conforming. It's not super clear cut, but that's the gist of things. And so they prefer to be called Marie. And they're given some love advice, as they love to do. Marie loves to be a gossip, right? And in this example, Marie decides to talk all about when they used to be in the Yakuza.
Yep.
Which is so great. That's a really great moment. And it has like some vague relevance on like trying to figure out what you really want to do with your life and trying to figure out, follow your path, right? And your passions. But it's just great that they don't shy away from that. Marie is a great character. Marie's fantastic.
For those who might be uncertain, who have seen it and be like, Marie, I don't remember Marie. Their name is also, their proper full name is Masaki Kobayashi, but again, they prefer Marie, so that's what we're going to call
They
him.
prefer Marie, so that's what we're calling him here.
Plus, that's easy for you to remember, Remington.
Truly nice and easy. We'll get one other easy name throughout the entire series, and bless those easy names. And we end the episode with a cliffhanger. Domestic Girlfriend loves its cliffhanger, Sean, and it's just Hina telling Natsuo essentially like, hey, let's hang out next Sunday. Cool. That's the end of the episode. We get to episode 7, and we start right where we left off. Now we are to the next Sunday, and Hina and Natsuo, they're hanging out. They're on a drive. They're going to a beach. They're eating food together, right? And when they're on the beach, Natsuo is like, hey, by the way, Teach, I love you. I am in love with you, teacher. Which is a bold move, to say the least. And so Hina is like, let me tell you about Shu, right? And as it turns out, when Hina was in high school, that is when she met Shu. Shu was one of her teachers. So yeah, if you thought he was a manipulative prick before, yeah, he is. He grooms women. And he has these like weird puppets that he used to make Hina happy when she was in high school and like a literal child. They talk about that, which, you know, that explains a lot.
Oh my
when
god,
it comes
it's
to
teacher
Hina.
fucking all the way down.
Natsuo, he's eventually gonna become a teacher. It's just an endless cycle. It's real rough.
It's a vicious cycle of horrible, horrible stuff. I am horrified.
So when Natsuo like declares his love after hearing all about this story or whatever, it doesn't really faze him. It doesn't do much. Then Natsuo is like, I love you. And she's like, all right, cool. And she starts walking into the ocean with him. And he's like, after they're like waist deep, he's like, what's going on? And she's like, well, you know, we'll just die together here. Which is a what the fuck moment. The sort of meaning behind this, she's saying like, we couldn't be together. If we were together, it would be catastrophic. So we might as well die together. That's the only way we'd even be together, right? That's sort of like the muddled message going on there. And he's Natsuo is like, whoa,
Summary,
chill.
Depression is a bitch.
Yeah. And so Natsuo's like, whoa, chill. Like, I'm not a child anymore. But like, first of all, he definitely literally is. Second of all, one of like the grooming techniques that older individuals in power do to younger individuals is like an emphasis on age. Like either like, oh, you're so young, or like, oh, but you're more mature than your peers, or shit like that, right? Just a fucked up back and forth to groom and control. Real fucked up. And that is very much what we see in Hina. I don't know if it's this scene or a later scene, but Hina begins to adopt but what do you want? But she's telling this to Natsuo. And I really liked that dynamic, because that's what Shu did to groom her, and she is now using that same technique to groom Natsuo, which is super fucked up. But yeah, so they decide like, all right, yeah, we're not gonna talk about it right now. Cool. they go back home, right? And then Rui decides to visit Natsuo and is like, "Hey, kiss me," and then they kiss. That's pretty much how it goes. It's very, very straightforward. Then they like study for finals a little bit, get ready to study for finals, and the episode ends with Natsuo as he's studying for finals.
Yep.
He gets up, he crosses the hall, he's like, "Oh, what, this open door." He peeks in the open door, and what should he see before him but Hina? What metaphor or euphemism do you want to use right now, Sean? Throw one at me.
Oh, let's see. Hold on, I have a list for that.
Okay, perfect. Wait, which one shall we use, Sean?
Let's go with battling One-Eyed Willie. Let's call it that.
Yeah, so Hina, Natsuo sees Hina battling One-Eyed Willie, and which I feel like makes more sense, frankly, for the other gender. But hey, we'll run with it. It can still sort of work.
Excuse me. Fuck. I gotta sort these by genitalia, don't I? Hold on one second. I need a much more appropriate one. Let's go with...
Ideally.
How about grinding some coffee beans? How about that?
Yeah, so he sees Hina grinding some coffee beans, right? And she moans out Shu's name as she's doing so. Almost catches Natsuo, but doesn't. And then, don't worry, they do good on the finals. And that's that episode, right?
Yes.
We get to episode 8. We're 2/3 of the way there. All right, we're getting there. God damn it.
Yep.
So now episode 8. Congratulations. It's summer break, right? Summer break is beginning. And fittingly, Natsuo, he needs to go to the school for a moment. There was also some awkwardness with Hina and Rui, and something about missing underwear. And now, if you're wondering, this is starting to not make much sense. We're introducing a new character. That's why.
That's the standard for this show, and it's pretty great.
Yeah, if you're like, wait a minute, what is this leading to? They're introducing a new character, so it gets disjointed for a moment. Our new character that meets Natsuo as he's on his way to school to pick up some things even during summer break is Alex. Alex is a good American boy. He goes by Al, which I would like to file a complaint. I have never in my life heard of an Alex who went by Al. Albert can go by Al, sure. Alex, I have never heard go by Al.
Okay, look, you can't just disparage somebody for his choice of name. If Alex wants to go by Al, he's more than welcome to. He is a good, strong, healthy Japanese-American boy, and he deserves to go by the name he so chooses.
I just disagree with his decisions. So meet Al, right? And as now they're biking together to the school, they run into no one other than the underwear thief that has just been introduced. There's an underwear thief, and they're like, we need to go after him. So they go after him. They corner him. Alex apparently has goddamn superpowers. He jumps 10 feet in the air to drop kick the underwear thief, which feels excessive.
I mean,
but you know what?
Don't you know that Americans
That's the American
are exceedingly
way.
athletic?
It's more, we're just over the top. So you know what? We're not just going to capture a criminal. God damn it, vigilante justice. We're gonna knock him off the top rope. We'll elbow drop a motherfucker. We don't give a shit. Hulk Hogan is the representation of American justice, for better or worse. Interpret that as you will.
Didn't he use that one fella's signature move, the spear or whatever it was called?
Hulk Hogan is most known for his leg drop.
Copy.
And so then Alex and Natsuo, they run into Rui, and Al is like, oh my god, I am in love with this girl. Holy shit. Can you hook me up with her? And Natsuo goes to Rui and is like, hey, so Alex is into you. And she's like, are you trying to fucking set me up with another dude? And he's like, what? And that makes Rui angry. So then later, Natsuo's like, yo, sorry about that. They just apologize to each other. It's like, oh man. And then they start kissing, and then Natsuo starts groping her. And then Hina walks in.
Dun, dun,
Which,
dun.
oh boy, a nice awkward moment. The guy who just declared that he loves you more than anything else, and your sister just making out nice and sensually.
And he's also your brother.
Yeah. It's a
your
weird
student.
moment. Well, yeah. But though obviously those don't matter to Hina as much as anything else.
I don't think those matter to all three of them, honestly, at this point.
It's true.
It's really more like a guideline. This is pirate rules is what we're dealing with.
So it's like, oh no, that's awkward. Then there's this big, like, I think it's like a New Year's festival or something like that. I can't recall. But they go to the festival, and Natsuo gets Hina alone, and he's like, yo, we need to talk about this. And he is like, we don't need to talk about this at all. And Natsuo's like, we do. He gets Marie and another employee at the restaurant who doesn't matter to help forcibly get Hina to talk to him about everything, which isn't okay. I just want to note, you shouldn't force conversations. That's not how a healthy relationship goes. You should be willing to have conversations, but you can't force them, unfortunately. That just makes things worse. But nonetheless, they have a conversation, and the conversation amounts to, hey, listen, Hina, God damn it, I love you, and you need to stop viewing me as a child, even though I am, in fact, a child. And Hina is like, yeah, I love you as well, which... Not good. And so then they all walk home, and Hina and Natsuo are holding hands at the end. And that's episode 8. We get to episode 9. Oh yeah, I should mention, a lot of the reason they were like arguing was also because Hina had decided she was moving out, and Rui and Natsuo blamed themselves for making out for that happening. You know, as you do. This episode 9, is all about like, all right, well, Hina is moving out, right? She's still moving out even with everything because she was thinking about it for a while, you know, which I like. Once again, not everything is determined by Natsuo's dick, right? There's just like, hey, no, I'm just like an adult proper, and so like I should move out right now. That's just a thing I've been thinking about, which is nice. We also have, while that's happening, Rui, she ends up just happenstantially running into Kiria, the teacher who definitely shouldn't be a teacher, and Shu, who apparently is friends with Kiria, to the surprise of literally no one. And yeah, apparently just creepy teachers, they get together, man. They're all a fucking unit. There's something up with that. I don't like it. So, Rui is like, fuck y'all, and Shu is like, all right, let's talk over lunch. And so they chat, right? Shu has mentioned he's finally divorced, but even still,
it's disturbing teachers all the way down. It's not good.
Yeah. He's like, but I'm not contacting your sister because she broke up with me, and you know, like, at least he sort of understands boundaries, even if he's a total creep. He's not 100% creep, but he's still far more creep than I'm comfortable with. And Rui is like, not huge on that. Rui and Hina talk later, just about like Hina moving out and how difficult that is, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, under everyone's nose, Natsuo is given a key to Hina's new place, so that he can show up whenever he wants. Sure enough, he goes to Hina's place once she's moved in.
Not good.
And he's like, hey, baby, want some fuck? And she's like, well, you know, maybe we take it a little slower, though. And as things, I think they have actually really strongly captured in Natsuo, and I'm being sincere here, juvenile individual who mistakes lust for true love. I think they unironically nailed that in Natsuo, because as we're going to see, Natsuo is like so fucking horny all the time, but he thinks that he is truly in love and that it's meant to be. It is a great depiction, actually, unironically, of that. And I feel like, let's face it, Sean, Sean, I've definitely have, and I'm sure you has had as well, where it's like, oh, you feel like you are just in love. This person is perfect. You have such great chemistry, but then like a year after the relationship ends, you're like, I was just horny. That's all that was. That's all that it was.
Like, ooh, fuck. How old am I now? Let's see, carry the 1, divide by how many times I fucked up. That's like most of my previous relationships, I think.
Yeah, and it's just like something that everyone is, I feel like almost everyone's going to go through that, right? And it's going to be exciting, and you're going to think that finally you understand love when you almost certainly don't. But Natsuo is like one of the most sincere and accurate depictions of that very specific happenstance that I I have ever seen. It's so good because he truly believes that, like, oh man, this is the real emotional shit, while at the same time, all the time he's just horny.
I mean, yeah,
And-
with
and
the
that's
amount of times he gets into situations where he's about to stick his dick in things, only
Yeah.
to either not or go through with it and regret his decision later, it is either the most realistic thing or the most unrealistic thing. I can't decide which.
Yeah. Also, one awkward moment, Natsuo at one point is like, I wouldn't mind dying together if it was with you. But just shut the fuck up. Just.
You're 17. Go fuck yourself.
Summer break, it's over, right? Back at school. Now Alex, he's also at school with the crew. Hina sees Natsuo and friends in the hallway, and she's talking to, like, the friends and stuff because they're also students, and she's keeping things hush-hush. And this makes Natsuo jealous because he's a naive he's a naive son of a bitch who doesn't understand love yet, but thinks he does, right?
Yep.
And he's thinking with his dick. So, he talks with Hina in the school and is like, oh god, I'm just starting to feel insecure. I just need you to acknowledge me sometimes. Am I being needy? Like, he asks, am I being needy? And Hina's like, oh no, don't worry about it. But obviously, and I think the audience should know, yes, he is very, very needy right now. Like, once again, I appreciate that this show is, like, it's showing an interesting relationship dynamic without too extremely glorifying it. I have to put an asterisk there at this stage. Mm-hmm. It gets a bit iffy later. And this will relate to one of my final points that I think will be super controversial, but we'll get to that. But thus far, I still think they have done a pretty good job at displaying the unhealthy nature of it and also how not ready for something like this Natsuo actually is.
Yeah, that's an understatement. It's a bit too real for me, honestly.
Oh yeah. So episode 10, we got a club festival. It's culture festival, right? That's what happens at the schools with all the clubs.
Yes.
That's what
it's
called?
where all the classes and clubs organize a school-wide event, and friends and family get to come and have fun. It's a really cool, fun idea
damn
that
it.
I wish we got to do in American schools.
I'm nailing it on the learning. And so the Lit Club decides to do a Maid Cafe theme. I think every anime that we have seen that's mentioned a culture festival has always recommended Maid Cafe as a theme.
Yeah.
What the it's the only one. It's the only one that there's do a play or Maid Cafe. That's literally all that we've ever seen.
No. We've also seen Haunted House. That's also one.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Okay, yeah. I want to see more Haunted House, less Maid Cafe.
We've also
That's my
had
personal
butler
preference.
Cafes.
Distinction without a difference, Sean.
And there was the one time where there was a cosplay cafe.
So different. So the Lit Club, a little while later, they're like, we haven't seen Creepy Teacher in a while. Maybe we go visit Creepy Teacher. Because Creepy Teacher's been gone for like days, which is unusual. So they just go to Creepy Teacher Kiria's house, right?
Well,
and
I mean, with the way that teacher-student relationships are in this show, that doesn't seem too out of the ordinary.
Unfortunately, yeah. And it's revealed that Kiria is he's actually a great novelist under a pen name that Natsuo adores and loves, right? And Natsuo's like, oh my god, you're so talented, and I swear to god, there's somewhere out there's like a manga panel of Kiria fucking Natsuo, and it's not okay, and I know it exists, and I don't want it to exist. But there's been an unhealthy amount of sexual tension between them.
Okay, well, it wouldn't be in the actual manga. It would probably be a doujinshi.
So as they're going back, Natsuo is teasing Ashihara rather.
Yep.
He's telling Ashihara, essentially like, haha, you love Kiria, you love the teacher, blah, 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 right? Which is weird. But she's like blushing because it's sort of true. And I should note, when I said like, oh, he walked in and it looked like Kiria was making out with Ashihara, they said that he was just picking an eyelash out of her eye or something like that.
Yep.
I don't know if I personally believe that. There's something weird in Kiria and Ashihara's relationship.
Yeah.
But it doesn't get too firmly explored. But it's there to make me feel uncomfortable.
It definitely is there to make people uncomfortable. I will definitely tell you that, Remington. Who boy does it make people uncomfortable.
So, Ashihara, after being teased, decides to yeet Natsuo down some stairs. Which is so good.
I mean, it's like
So
the first
good,
time you and
Sean.
I had an argument.
I know. I was like, hey, Sean, but like maybe cut down the anime to like 11 hours a day instead of 12. And you were like, no, and you shoved me down some stairs and I fractured my foot and it was awful.
But it's okay because we had a very good makeup arc afterwards where we got really close and I got to take care of you while you were injured. It was very romantic.
It's true, and let's get into that because now, oh no, Natsuo, he injured his foot, right? And he's like, oh, I don't know if I can visit Hina as much anymore. Meanwhile, Rui is like, well, perfect. Now I get to take care of you. And so like she smooches on him and gives him a bath and gets naked with him in the bath. Blah 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 blah. Right? At one point, I think she like accidentally touches his dick at one point.
That definitely happens. Yep, she's reaching
And
for the
Natsuo,
soap.
yeah,
You
and
gotta
Natsuo
be
gets
careful when
real
picking
weird
up
about
the
it.
soap.
But I mean, come on, guys, you fucked. You clearly want to fuck some more. I mean, if she touches your dick, it's not the worst thing in the world. And he's super like, oh my god, and she's just like, whoops. Because Rui is still a really solid character. And so that happens. Meanwhile, Natsuo decides he's still going to visit Hina. So thus far, he's been lying and saying he's been going to his best friend's place. Fumiya?
Yep.
Yeah, he's been going to Fumiya's place, who unfortunately, despite being amazing in the first few episodes, has not been super relevant since those first few episodes,
they just kind
which is a
of
bummer.
shove him to the side for a lot of the new characters, and it made me very sad because there's some.
He was so good. I loved him. But he's been lying and saying he's been going over to Fumiya's house. So eventually, as we have Natsuo visiting Hina, and they're starting to get hot and heavy, right? They're starting to get a little steamy at Hina's place. Right at that moment, ding dong, who should show up but Rui? Because Rui went to Fumiya's house because she wanted to get Natsuo, and Fumiya was like, oh wait, no, what happened actually was it had been confirmed that he wasn't at Fumiya's house because Fumiya was like, I haven't seen him in a while at the restaurant. And when addressed, then Natsuo was like, oh yeah, I'm actually been going to Momo's house. And so now that's been confirmed to be a lie as well. And Rui understands what's up.
Stockpiling. Oh, what does it build to, Remington? You can't have this kind of dishonesty in your relationship.
Well, I mean, you can't for a healthy relationship, but for a soap opera, it works. So Rui catches them and is like, what the fuck? Rui leaves, and Hina and Natsuo are just both like, well, shit. Whoops. So Natsuo goes to find Rui. It's raining and storming, and he's just on a crutch, limping his way around. He finds Rui in a park, right? They chat, and Rui's like, so what the fuck is going on? Natsuo's like, yo, so I love your sister, by the way. And this just pretty much continues into the next episode. The chat continues, so I'm just gonna keep going. They continue chatting, and he's like, yeah, and also she loves me as well. To which then Rui is like, well, let's kiss one last time, which is not healthy for anybody.
No.
I understand the desire, but then Natsuo lets it happen, which is also dumb. You're making everything worse, Natsuo. What the fuck?
Hey, that's the tagline for the show.
It's true. But I will point out, Natsuo is not the worst here, like morally speaking. I would argue Hina is way worse because she's taking advantage of Natsuo. Natsuo, he's a dumbass, but he's being taken advantage of and being manipulated actively. So it's like,
you gotta be careful there, Remington. You'll get the Hina fans all very mad and upset at you.
Oh, just you wait, Sean. I will say, I mentioned in the very first time we did Domestic Girlfriend, I wasn't a big fan of Hina, but then like in the third episode, she was okay. So far, Hina has actually been a decent character. She's been interesting. Morally, like as a person, as morally speaking, she's god awful. She is terrible. She's trash. But as a character, she's interesting. I can get down with that. So the next day, Rui and Natsuo, they're walking to school, and Rui's like, hey, just a heads up, I've decided to actively dislike you because I need to create some emotional distance. Which, you know, I've been there. That makes sense. You're just like, hey, you need to create some emotional distance. It's not healthy this way. Good on you, Rui. Maybe not. Rui isn't like the most mature all the time in handling things, but she's still probably pound for pound the most mature and moral character out of anybody.
So
in the show
Remington,
so far.
are you saying that Rui is best girl?
In this show, undeniably. Undeniably.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
I'm just gonna pen that down for later. Rui is best girl, quote, Remington Chase 2020.
God damn it. Rui is a great character. I don't give a shit. I previously, in our previous episode, I said she might be the best dairy that we had ever seen, her being a kudere. And I don't know if she's the best, but she's still up there because once again, she, and I would say something this show does immensely well, they actually has some nuance in their characters. Like, they'll have general tropes, sure, but almost every character goes beyond their basic trope, and I can so strongly appreciate that. Characterization is one of the best things Domestic Girlfriend has going for it.
Okay, might as well jump on the sinking ship with you. I'm also a Rui fan, even though I've read the whole manga at this point.
Oh man, I can't wait to give you my opinion about the manga, even though I know nothing about it.
Oh,
but we'll wait till we quickly finish this. So then there's some stuff. Lit Club has submitted their stories they wrote over summer break for awards. Rui has won despite not being much of a writer, and Natsuo's like, well, shit, because he expected to win. And so he's disappointed about that. He goes to creepy teacher Kiria and is like, let me be your apprentice. And then he works on improving himself. There's like a borderline little montage, right, of him just working hard to hopefully make it work. So I mean, good on him for that, I guess. And then there's a school trip, and so the latter third of this episode is all about the school trip. They're going to a beach, which means we get to see those beach bods, right? And so on this trip, Alex is drunk and great, and he kisses Natsuo, but then he also kisses Kiria, which is less okay, because once again, teachers, stop, please. Rui and Hina have a chat where it's essentially like, hey, we're both gonna do us, no hard feelings, whatever, right? Which feels a little bit rushed, but these last two episodes are the most rushed episodes. They're the only ones where the fast-paced sort of starts to fall apart a little.
Yeah.
It's still, I would argue, still isn't bad, but it's worse. So then fireworks are happening, and Natsuo, he's bought a ring for Hina. He meets up in Hina's hotel room. He gives her the ring and is like, one day I want to marry you, because he's a dumbass teenager. And that's what dumbass teenagers do. And then they fuck, and they're like, oh my god, we just love each other so much. But then the episode ends, Sean, with some trouble. Some trouble, because on these school trips, you have school photographers just taking a bunch of pictures, right? And it's come to the administration of the school's attention that in one of the pictures, in the background, you see Hina and a student that looks very oddly like Natsuo. And so that's where episode 11 leaves off. We're finally to the last episode. Finally, we're there.
Okay.
We made it. So everyone agrees, all right, we won't like publicly shame Hina for fucking a goddamn student, but she needs to be transferred away. She can't be here. That's not acceptable. Which isn't the best way of handling it, but I have to say, I appreciate that there are actual consequences here.
Oh, yeah.
Because the vast majority of other shows would not have any consequences. So I appreciate the fact that, like, in world, it's like, hey, no, this is fucked up and, like, it needs to be addressed. So, like, let's address it. And so, yeah, so Hina has to transfer. She also has to move away, and she cuts contact with Natsuo and, like, her family and everything. Then we have Natsuo. He's broken up about this, right? He's pretty fucked up. So he gets a letter from Hina, and he's reading it, and it's just it's a lovey-dovey little letter, right? And then there was a moment that wasn't supposed to make me lose my shit, but it did. There's this like melodramatic letter, right, that's being read, and it's just poetic and intense, right? And then it just cuts to Natsuo screaming at the heavens, and it was just so abrupt and unintentionally hilarious. I don't know if anybody else bust up laughing at that moment. It's a funny as shit moment.
I'll be honest, I kind of had a good chuckle when I first saw it too.
So good.
I think it's supposed
so
to be a
good.
pretty heavy-handed thing, and you and I might be the only ones, but I think I'm okay with that because I got a good laugh out of it.
It was funny. So Natsuo's just stuck in his room. He eventually decides, you know what? This is the time I'm gonna work on my novel. I'm gonna work on my writing. That's gonna be the focus here. So for quite a while, he is just never leaving his room. Rui is occasionally occasionally visiting to try and take care of him. Fumiya shows up and helps knock some sense into him. Eventually, Natsuo finishes his novel. He lets Kiria see it. Kiria, unbeknownst to Natsuo, submits it for a bunch of literature awards, like the most important ones out there, right? And sure enough, Natsuo, he wins the amateur category, which I also want to note. It's nice that, like, he wins the amateur category. They're not like, yes, and then he became the next Shakespeare, because far too many anime do that. It's just like, no, he's wildly talented. So for the amateur category, yeah, he nailed it.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that. Then you have Natsuo. He returns home, and who should he find there, Sean? But he sees Hina, who has disappeared. And so he embraces her. He's like, oh my God, Hina, I love you so goddamn much. Hey, baby, want some fuck?
Exact dialogue from the show.
Yeah, exact dialogue.
Okay, cool. I'm glad that we were
Verbatim.
able to get the clear-cut version of that, because I don't know if I would have been able to, go forward unless we got that exact quote in the script there.
So Hina turns around, but it wasn't Hina. It is Rui in a wig, which felt a little bit abrupt because, like, we have not seen this wig up till now. They have not done a good job of leading into this, but okay, sure. So Rui goes to a room, Natsuo follows her and is like, hey, my bad, whoops. And Rui's like, so that's what it's like to be held and loved. And they chat a little bit, right? And eventually Rui is like, you know what? Fuck it. He's gone. It's time for me to actually, like, take care of myself for one time in my goddamn life. And so she initiates some very assertive sex with Natsuo. And that's the end of the show. That's how it ends. So Sean.
Yes.
I have some overall thoughts.
Is that thoughts with the proper spelling or thoughts with OTS at the end?
Yes. Yes. Inclusive or. And so, I think, first of all, overall review of the show, I was worried, because at first I really liked it for its characterization. It had a surprising amount of nuance and depth that I did not anticipate. And while I maintained the show did get a bit trashier, it still maintained those major principles that I enjoyed when we first visited this months and months ago. And so overall, I still like the show. And when it comes to the ending of the show, I think it works. You had this sort of like sad, melancholy, bittersweet ending with Hina and Natsuo. Like you show Hina, she still has the ring and she's just looking out longingly. Natsuo and Rui might start something. Rui has her character growth, right? Side characters were underutilized, but at least helped to expand the world. Overall, I think this is a good show, which is amazing. That is astounding.
Wow.
It is absolutely ridiculous that is my opinion, considering we harped on this a lot, Sean.
Yes.
This show it's as if it was built for me to despise it, Sean. But yet somehow, amazingly, against all odds, it made it through. It is now one of the very few anime that I finished all the way through, and it was a good one. This trashy dumpster fire is a good anime. Is it also trashy? Hell yeah! But that doesn't get in the way too much, amazingly.
Yeah, well,
But I
will say, finish to this point, there is some rumors going around that there might be a season 2, because after all, Remington, there's about 276 chapters in this. I did a quick read through of all of them. By the end, I don't know what you would think if you were to consume the story in that way, but for now, we could...
That's what I wanted to address, Sean.
Yes.
Because this is where I think I'm going to make a lot of people angry. I've just said this was a surprisingly good show. And I had a hunch that there was more to the manga, right? Mm-hmm. And that the anime didn't tell the full story. But however, I think it's valuable to put this note in, despite me thinking that it was quite a good show. I do not want them to make a second season of it at all, in any way, shape, or form. Let me share why, Sean.
Okay.
The first season, as a complete entity, while it leaves room for a second season, right? It definitely allows that, which makes sense because there is more. I do not trust the author of the manga. Let me explain why. Because there's one important thing that, and you shouldn't confirm this, it would be spoilers beyond what we said it would be, but I think that in the author's mind, there is a genuine love story between Hina and Natsuo. And that's not great. Where it ended now, in this sort of melancholy ambiguity, that's an interesting point. It implies like both of them will go their separate ways. Maybe they'll reunite further down when they both mature. Or maybe they'll just have the memories, right? And they'll use the memories to grow from, which is a nice message. Undeniably, without a goddamn doubt, in the manga, Hina returns, and almost certainly Natsuo and her continue to scoodly poop and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And I think, based on the first season, my impression is that the author wants Hina and Natsuo to be together. Despite the season ending with Rui and Natsuo sort of together, that's still not like a proper relationship. That's just Rui's character growth and Natsuo trying to move on, right? Natsuo has only ever truly been in love with Hina, and Hina's expressed that as well. So, I think if there was a second season, unfortunately, you would ruin a lot of the really good nuance that you had in this season, and you'd also ruin a lot of the, like, interesting messages and ideas, and I worry that you would undeniably end up glorifying these unhealthy patterns rather than simply showing them, right? And so, I'm not guaranteed on that fact. I don't know the manga. I've never even looked at it. I don't know what people are saying about it, but that's my impression, and I could be wrong. I don't feel like I am, Sean. I feel like I'm in the ballpark at least.
Remy, you're a very interesting person to analyze on this show. Let me just tell you. Because I've known you for years, and some of the things that come out of your mouth are shocking to say the least, but people who are to where I am in the manga, who have finished it, definitely would love to have a conversation with you like I am right now, because this is a very interesting conversation. Just for your perspective, the author's name is Kei Sasuga, and she did finish the manga relatively recently. Let's see, I believe it was I want to say last February is when everything wrapped up, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so you think our lovely author here just is gonna royally fuck things up if it was to get a second season, essentially.
Yeah, which is more like, I think that the material has already been fucked up after this point. I do not trust the source material after this point in time. After wherever it cuts off in season 1 of the anime, right? And here's the thing. The concern I have is, in no way should Domestic Girlfriend be depicted as a romance story. And if it is, it undeniably shouldn't be depicted as a romance between Hina and Natsuo. This is a story about, like, teenage relationships and trying to figure out what love is and how that interplays with sexuality and all of that. And trying to figure out all of these awful, complex nuances and these difficult situations. That's what this is about. This is not and shouldn't be a cute little romance.
No, there's nothing cute and little about this show, I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, so, anyway, so those are my predictions, and those are why I strongly don't want a second season of the show, despite really enjoying the first.
Yeah, I mean, it is very possible it won't get a second season. There was a lot...
Please don't. It would ruin it.
News.
It'll make it bad, I'm sure of it, goddammit.
There was a lot of news saying that there weren't initially any plans to make it a second season, but it did get a lot of feedback, you could say, from the big boom, especially over here, because of a lot of YouTubers who drew a lot of attention to it because of how over the top this show is. I will say this, I won't give you any spoilers as to how things go in the manga, but let me give you a little phrase. In the anime, I am a 100% Rui fan. By the end of the manga, I don't know if I'm anybody's fan.
Oh no! Well, you know what? That could but as the people, because let's face it, they're a bit shitty. Or as the characters, because that's a very different thing. I don't know. Maybe one day we'll find out if there's ever a second season.
Yeah, or who knows? Maybe I'll force you to read the whole manga, see how you react to that.
That's not how the show goes. That's not the premise.
You don't wanna mix things up every once in a while? You don't wanna sit down with 200 more chapters of a thing that you've consumed?
You can fuck right off.
Remington, it'll only take you 2 days to read. I could read 100 chapters in a day, easy. It's not that hard.
Oof.
Although, before we get out of here, I will say one thing that might genuinely surprise you.
Oh?
I don't know if we covered it last time, but do you know what the Mal score for Domestic Girlfriend is?
Amazingly, I'm gonna make a weird guess. I think it's lower than I personally would put it. I'm gonna say it's like a 7.2.
7.2. Where would you put it personally, though, Rem, before we get into it?
I think I'd probably put it at 7, well, like on a Mal score or on my personal score, because those are different.
Give me a split right there. Give me a good split of what you think.
All right, I'd probably put like 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
I think, unironically, he has moments that are like 8.5 or even 9 out of 10, but it also has moments that are like a 5 or a 6 out of 10, so.
Okay, interesting. Well, with 170,000 ratings, Domestic Nakonojo has a Mal score of 6.85.
See, that's even lower than I knew it would be lower than I expected, but that's even lower than I expected. Which is a nice word salad. But how am I the one standing here saying that a trashy sister fucking teacher fucking anime is underrated? How is that my role on the podcast, Sean? How the fuck does that work? Someone explain that one to me. Someone solve that fucking riddle. I think too many people are taking it at face value. And if you take it at face value, by God, is it just trash. But I unironically think that there's some depth to this show that can be sincerely appreciated. That doesn't nullify the trash, but I really appreciate it all the same.
I will say a lot of the super low reviews are a mixture of people who have finished the manga, which is not how you should weigh your rating if you're going to weigh just a small section of a story, as well as people who are viewing it solely as a romance anime.
Yeah, once again, I strongly maintain if you are going into this with a romance mentality, you will either like it and because you have terrible taste in romance, or you will dislike it because I really don't think it belongs as a romance. There's romance elements in it, but it in of itself is not a romance.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the overall categorization of this show is romance, but I kind of agree with you. It's much better when you take the romance out of it and you just take the stupid decisions and just sit there in suspense, eating popcorn, be like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens next. How is this going to get fucked up?
Exactly.
With just a little bit of sexy stuff to make things interesting. You know,
though amazingly, I will say it's like sexy stuff. It's done more in the style of like I would compare it to like erotica rather than porn, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because there's far more emphasis on story and characters, and then like a little bit to titillate you here and there,
Yep.
rather than like nonstop titillation.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? I definitely prefer that because normally with ecchi they don't care about the characters. By definition, this style has to focus on that more, and so I'll take it.
You'll take the titillation. I appreciate that, Remington. Where would we be if you couldn't take a little titillation here and there?
Oh, who knows, brother.
Amazing. Well, Remington, a shocking series. A shocking conclusion to say the least. But I think for once we're actually kind of in agreement. As far as the anime goes, Rui is best girl. As far as anything else goes, well, that'll be for our emails to deal with. Because I'll be honest, I thought I'd like Hina at first, but
I didn't, and I was right.
Well, you just hate teacher fucking dynamics.
But also, Hina is a bit of a piece of shit. Not all the time, but in large part,
yeah.
Hina's a piece of shit.
Oh, goodness. I can't wait.
She's not the worst piece of shit in the show. She's still a piece of shit.
I cannot wait for the emails we're about to get based on this incredible Hina hatred you have going on.
She's an interesting and compelling character. A terrible person.
Fantastic. Then I guess I have one final question to ask you. Any chance you'd want to watch some more Domestic Girlfriend with me, Mr. Remington?
If they were to hypothetically come out with a second season, would I watch it? Probably. Would I expect my opinion to worsen? Also yes.
Completely fair. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. If you enjoyed our mad ramblings on the smuttiness of sister fucking, then please do us a favor and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. It's a weird thing, but it actually really helps us a lot. Get our word out there, get our name out there, and hopefully maybe we'll connect even more people to our weird, wonderful tastes on anime. But if you would like to support us even more directly, I have another way you can do that. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/animeoutacontext, where you can gain access to all kinds of lovely little bonus content, including the opportunity to have Remington horribly mispronounce your name. Remington, who do we have
Sean,
to thank this week? Yes?
Not only did I horribly mispronounce some names last week, but we overlooked the fact that there is now we have so many patrons at this point. There is a second page of patrons to thank, and so I skipped over, I think I skipped over only one or two, but to those one or two, I am sorry. I love you all the same. It won't happen again. I'm not used to there being another page. So with that,
We're not used to people
apologies.
caring about us that much. It's a bit weird for us.
Exactly. With that out of the way, of course, I would like to send our thanks to our magical girls as well as our bland bitch protagonists who really do a lot of work. But above that is our yandere waifus. They're no kuderes, but I'll take them this week all the same. And on this list, we have Sarah Birch, Kazu Morocco, Anonymous, Let's Talk About Handshakers Gamer. I'm going to the next. Go. Jojo Zodiac, Juliana, Salty Pretzel, Glenn Michael Dolan, Ross Palmer, Jacob Livingston, H. Wood, Zach, aka Gumo Gumo no Waifu. Go eat copious amounts of cheesecake, ya cheery weeby slut. Farmer, what would Rem cost to be a rental girlfriend weeb? Too expensive for most of you. I say that, but like when I look at the Patreon, that's probably not true. Most of you could probably afford me. Alexander Incendio, Meow, Mew, Meow, Mewtwo, Meow. Andrew Rowicki, NVIDIA RTX 3080 graphics card sold out instantly and now I am sad. Matthew B, Devin McCutcheon, Hito Kirix, Sage Schiffner, Reverse Kismo, Oni-chan, why is everything gushy? Hate that so much. Rare Kumiko, Peter Vlasity, Ready to be Isekai'd, Kenneth Reed, Remington Merrill, Visual Bin, Hunter Davies, Alex from, let me start this one again. Alex from Australia.
Oh, good.
Apostle of the Church of Remington, Alston Limerick, I like AOT for the Etchy, Snap Snips, Ichigo 015 Simp, Bad Bunny. To all of you yandere waifus, thank you so much. There's so many of you. It's crazy. We never expected to have this many, but there's a tier above. We're going across the pond, as we always do, over to Hogwarts, representing the boy wizard tier. And you know what, Sean? This time, I'm representing you, Sean. You and your kin. Everyone's getting a nice ginger character. We're going to the Weasleys. Everybody is going home with their own Weasley.
God damn it, I was wondering where you were going with that. I was like, what about me is related to... Oh, I see. It's a ginger joke. Okay, cool.
Eternitarian. You know what? You're getting head of the family. You're getting Arthur Weasley. That's a good get. Delina Perez, you are going to get... Let's give you... You get George Weasley, Delina. Little bit of a jokester for you. Miguel DeLeon. Miguel, you're getting Ginny. You're getting Ginny Weasley.
Book version
which is
or
great
movie version? This is very important.
That is... You know what? Yeah, you know what? I'll give you the book version. You've earned it.
Okay,
You've
good.
earned it. You've earned it, Miguel. Cat Zodiac, you are going to, you get Ron, Cat Zodiac. You get Ron Weasley himself.
Wow.
The man, the myth, the legend. I know. Pilkster, the Symphogear advocate. Well, Pilkster, you know what? You are going to get, you get Percy. You get Percy Weasley.
Ooh, a bit preppish, but reliable in the end.
I would argue, more forgotten than he deserves to be, Percy. He's rarely remembered, or at least one of the first that people will forget, but he deserves his spot.
I mean, primarily
Pilkster,
because he
he's
got
all
written
yours.
out of the movies for the most part, so you know.
It's true. Killer Queen Requiem, you get, you know, we've given out George. Killer Queen Requiem, you get Fred Weasley.
Oh god.
So you,
Oh,
yeah,
no.
you and I think it was Delina, you get together, cause some mischief.
Yes, and you're both very, very much alive. We want to specify that.
For a limited time only, folks. All right, so then we have Enrique Perez Torres. Enrique, you know who you get? You are gonna get Okay, so I'm just on like the fandom wiki, right?
Okay.
And there's an entry of Weasley's that's just Arthur Weasley's two brothers. Enrique, you get Arthur Weasley's two brothers.
Oh.
What are their names? Who knows?
They're my
you get
favorite
two of them.
characters, honestly. You can't have a good story without Arthur Weasley's two brothers. I invited them to my wedding, actually. It was a great bash.
Last but not least, Matthew Robinson. Who do you
I mean, you gotta give
deserve?
the matriarch of the family, surely.
You know, you'd think that? No. I'm going Charles Weasley, the dragonologist. You get a goddamn dragonologist. Matthew, you're welcome.
Once again, poor Molly is left out of the mix, as is usual.
Last but not least, we get to the Chef and Musco tier to the White House, representing Corey in the house. This is now once again our last tier. No more Waluigi. Thank God. Oh my God. Praise be for that shit. On this, you know what, Sean? I'm gonna assign you the task.
Okay.
You have to give each person something very trashy. It can be good trashy. It can be bad trashy. But you're gonna give all of these folks something trashy. All right.
Okay.
It can be specifically trashy anime related stuff, or it can just be trashy generally.
All right.
So we start off with, it's dark, it's spooky, we got the almighty sinner. What trash heap are you gonna dump on the almighty sinner, Sean?
My taste in guilty pleasure anime.
That is very trashy. That is very trashy. All right, next up, we have the huggable monstrosity. What a delightful name. This huggable monstrosity, Sean, what does she deserve? Give her something trashy.
Oh, the huggable monstrosity. The trashiest thing I can think of that would be most fitting is probably like, I want to say like just that one super wholesome reverse harem anime genre. You know what I'm talking about?
What?
You know, it's just where you're going into, you're watching the show and it's like just a bunch of super nice dudes and a girl's having a hard time deciding. I feel like that could be good. Or, controversially, it could be something along the lines of like an Orin High School thing, maybe. I don't know. Orin High School is pretty trashy. How about we just give him Orin High School? Orin High School seems...
All right, okay. See, I thought huggable monstrosity, I thought you were gonna go trashy Umaru-chan. But you've lost that opportunity. Next up, we have Zachary Shirley has a football team made out of golden retriever puppies. It's not in the rule book that I can't. He is correct about that fact. It isn't in the rule book that a bunch of puppies cannot play football. So, what trashy thing are you going to give to Zachary Shirley and his great football team?
Well, I think that the football team, you need something good and trashy, so I'm gonna give you... those like 1 minute cooking videos with all of the really, really crappy, like heartbreak, like artery clogging foods, you know, like the tasty ones, but less oppressive.
Oh, yep.
Those are pretty trashy.
Perfect. Next up, we have the touchy diplomat. Sean, I hope, I want you to give something like super trashy for touchy diplomat. I just have a feeling that that's what touchy diplomat needs in their life right now.
Well, it's gonna be bad trashy if that's the case.
Go as trashy as possible.
Okay, then the first thing that comes to my mind is a toss-up between what we just covered, but that would be too easy, so I am going for... Let's go for the Ore Imo Ero Manga Sensei combo, because they're in the same universe, and that horrifies me.
There you go, touchy diplomat. You're welcome for that. Then, next up, we have Silicon Spectre. So what are you going to give well-endowed Ghastly over here?
God damn it.
You know what? I think that's it. I think just give him well-endowed Ghastly.
Yeah, he gets a Moemon Ghastly. That's fine. Good for him. Awesome. Cool.
Or BDSM Charizard, you know, whatever. Next up, we have Thick Mullet, the thickest of all mullets.
Well, there's only one thing for a thick mullet.
Yeah.
You know what? The trashiest thing on the face of the planet. Anime titties.
Oh, Thick Mullet, you're getting anime titties.
Yep.
Hopefully they are as thick as your mullet. And last but not least, technically still chilling at the Waluigi tier that no longer exists, but we're forcibly bringing you down. Amoto Ahigao Uwu, Waluigi for life, oh whoa.
Yeah, you better change your pledge there, bud, or you're not getting any of those benefits anymore.
I think you'll actually lose all benefits, so please actually do switch so that, like, you're getting the benefits that you are very kindly paying for.
Yep.
And so, what does what I will label as the final Waluigi? What trashy object do they get?
Well, I feel like it's obvious, Remington. Waluigi. The trash
You know what?
man
The
himself.
trash thing I can think of, more so our Waluigi accents, which were the trashiest thing I've ever heard. In my
Yeah, they were
goddamn
like a
life.
weird mixture of Squidward getting kicked in the balls and
It was so bad.
like a very bad cold.
And thank you guys. And if you would like to contact us directly, whether it's for a comment, question, feedback, or recommendation, you can either tweet us at AnimeConPod on Twitter or send an email over onto animeoutofcontext@gmail.com.
Once again, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to love each other, and as always, don't fuck your sister.
Do I just keep breaking your internet by asking for masturbation euphemisms? Is that how this works?